It is 10:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans claimed linebacker Zach Cunningham off waivers from the Houston Texans on Thursday. The former Vanderbilt star released by Houston earlier this week. Cunningham, 67 tackles, 4 TFLs this season. He led the league in tackles in 2020 with 164. Thursday's injury report included Nate Davis, Rashaan Evans, Jeremy McNichols, and as full participants, while Harold Landry and Elijah Molden were limited. Jackrabbit Jenkins, David Long, and Tier Tart did not practice. The 8-4 Titans hosting 2-10 Jacksonville in an AFC South matchup Sunday at Nissan Stadium. The League Company countdown to kickoff starts with Buck Reising at 9 a.m. Titans countdown at 11 and kickoff with Mike Keith, Coach Mack, and the rest of the Titans radio crew at noon. Thursday Night Football, the Steelers trailed 29-0 before rallying with a chance to tie the game late and falling 36-28 at the Vikings. Pittsburgh's playoff hopes took a hit as they fall to 6-1. Vikings running back Dalvin Cook, 202 rush yards and 2 touchdowns. Ellie Tolvanen tipped into winner last night with 12 seconds left. The Preds escaped the Islanders on the road 4-3. They'll stay on the road at the New Jersey Devils tonight, a 6:30 puck drop. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Man, it's time for Friday. What is going on, Nashville, Middle Tennessee, or wherever it is that you're hanging out with us here on 104.5 The Zone? Buck Reising here with you until 1 o'clock. Happy to have you involved and along for the ride. We got Lucas, we got Mac. They're behind the scenes. They're making it happen. Our buddy Zach Lyons from Football and Other F Words. He has some shame that he has to physically eat. He's going to join us in studio whenever it is that he finds out where exactly we're located. He's struggling this morning. But it's going to be a fun show. Coach Dave McGinnis is going to be involved. We'll have Rodger Saffold, Titans left guard. He'll join us after they wrap up their final day of practice in preparations for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That'll be at 12:35. 615-737-1045 is the number. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. So, I thought about opening with Thursday Night Football, but I think that's hardly the biggest news as it relates locally. Zach Cunningham coming to the Titans is a massive deal. It's a multi-layered solution for problems that go beyond just outside of depth this season. It factors into what your long-term plans are going to be at inside linebacker. It helps you have a reasonable solution for inevitably when Jayon Brown and Rashaan Evans are both unrestricted free agents at the end of the season. And while you wait for David Long, who it looks like it's going to be a little longer, no pun intended, before he can take the field. Don't shake your head at me. What happened? What happened there?
Nothing. I'm just disappointed in you.
There will be plenty more opportunities for me to disappoint you over the course of the next 2 hours and 55 minutes. I promise.
I hope so.
Okay. Settle down back there. So, for David Long, for Monty Rice, for Zach Cunningham, this is a good core of young linebackers. Zach Cunningham is only 26 years old. He's 2 years younger than me. He's the same age as Lucas. So, neither of us are clearly in any position to be a professional athlete. But for Zach Cunningham, that's gravy, baby. That's the prime. He's a smart player. He's a competent player. He's more than competent. He is one of the better inside linebackers. He just happens to play, or did play, for a particularly wretched franchise that did not allow him the opportunity to shine the way that he has under Mike Vrabel and under Shane Bowen. Because his rookie year, they were both still on the Houston Texans staff. 615-737-1045. What's your reaction to the Titans claiming off of waivers yesterday, Zach Cunningham? 615-737-1045. I was loud wrong on this because we worked our way through, where are the Titans in the waiver order and how realistic is it for them to be able to claim Zach Cunningham. And I told you that we don't know exactly where they are because the NFL determines this based off their measurement of strength of schedule when so many teams have the same record at this point. But we knew that they were somewhere in the mid to late 20s. And so, if we're going to look at it from a hypothetical purpose, let's say the Titans were anywhere between 24 and 27, right? The idea that over 20 teams passed on Zach Cunningham is inexplicable to me. It's why I said I think there's a 0.0001% chance that this guy ends up falling to them. And if he does, claim him. Get him in here yesterday. Now, we know he won't be available on Sunday because he has to clear the NFL's COVID protocols at this point. And for a player who was jettisoned from Houston because of his unwillingness to cooperate with their COVID protocols, you cannot skirt the rules on this. You have to follow it by the letter of the law because the NFL will be watching this particular situation very closely. But for the Titans, this is less of a Band-Aid and more, it just felt like you've gotten your linebacking core stitched back up in a way that is going to have lasting implications beyond this season if they so choose. He's under contract till 2024, Zach Cunningham is. And you look at the way that the financials are broken down, if you're looking on Spotrac, for example, this was a player who was signed to a contract extension in 2020. He signed a 4-year, $32.5 million deal. He had it restructured this offseason in a way to where the Texans, he only counted against their cap for $422,000 and change this season, and that they can get out from under that contract next year. Like, if this doesn't work out for whatever reason, and you have no way of predicting how well or how poorly it'll go, there's no dead cap charge for Zach Cunningham in 2022. So you can get him off your books and not have to worry about it. Houston is the one who will deal with the lasting implications of their financial mismanagement, admittedly under a previous regime who signed Zach Cunningham to this extension. Andrew on YouTube is saying, did they get that $10 million injury guarantee clause out before signing him? And that's a good question, something that if John Robinson, I don't know that John will speak to the media anytime soon, but that is a good question for John. I'm sure that Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis in their pregame, I know they're doing their pregame meetings with J-Rob just across the hall from us right now for Titans Radio. I'm sure that will come up as a part of, what exactly does this deal look like for the Titans and how are they able to make it fit? But it's a big deal. And it comes at a time where the loss of David Long for an extended period of time, it's been the better part of a month at this point since he's been injured. And again, he has not practiced the last 2 days. Also worth noting on the injury report, and we'll dive into this a little later, that Harold Landry continues to be limited, and Danico Autry went from limited on Wednesday to DNP yesterday for the Titans. So those are two massive pieces for this team to be able to successfully affect the quarterback. And a quarterback that's just, he's begging for you to make life miserable for him because he's having a bad time in Jacksonville. It has been unpleasant for Trevor Lawrence this season, and we'll spend some more time on that. But when we come back, Zach Lyons is going to join us in studio. He's going to eat crow with a side of Brussels sprouts because he said that if Zach Cunningham became a Titan, he would eat a full plate. I almost wanted to make him do it uncooked, but that felt a bit cruel. So instead, we're going to do just what is barely above uncooked. We're going to microwave some Brussels sprouts for him and make him eat them live on the Zone TV stream. If you want to jump in, 615-737-1045 is the number. Your thoughts, your questions, your comments, your concerns on Zach Cunningham being claimed yesterday by the Tennessee Titans. We will get into that on the other side. I'm Buck Reising. It's 1045 The Zone. The Sprouts have arrived. Zach Lyons has entered the building. Now, he's not in the studio with me right now. He went straight for the microwave. But we will make him eat the Sprouts. They're being held up with great ceremony. We'll bring him in the studio and we'll make him do it on camera here in just a second. We'll also get back to the Zach Cunningham conversation because that's the whole reason that Zach Lyons is here and why he has to eat a full plate of microwave Brussels sprouts. 615-737-1045 is the number. Buck Reising here with you till 1 o'clock. Talking about Zach Cunningham. And I want people to hear this this clip from Mike Vrabel talking about Zach Cunningham. Now, this was in 2020 when the Titans played the Texans. Now, I don't know which game it was, whether it was the season finale in Week 17 or if it was earlier in the season when these two teams squared off, a game that the Titans won in overtime, which was the game was completely without defense, it felt like, and Deshaun Watson just slumping his shoulders after Kevin Byard won the toss in overtime, if you recall. But Mike Vrabel, who I think if for all the there are a fair amount of criticisms of Mike Vrabel on a regular basis. And I don't think many of them carry weight legitimately. I think that Titans fans are pretty lucky to have Mike Vrabel as their head coach. But the thing that you cannot dispute about Mike when it comes to coaches and players, he has an above average ability to identify talent. Listen to him talk about Zach Cunningham, who he scouted while he was on the Houston Texans coaching staff and who played for him in Houston as the defensive coordinator in Zach's rookie year.
Player, he shows up at Vanderbilt here, probably, undersized, got length and probably was lanky and grew in his body. I mean, he's an explosive player. Doesn't look like a physical player, but he will be one of the best inside linebackers that we'll see unquestionably this year. And I just think that each and every year I see him, he's more instinctive, reading plays and diagnosing them, and finds a lot of ways. If we don't block 41, then it won't matter. He'll make the tackle and he'll be involved with it. So, again, he's doing a nice job, and he's very active.
Mike Vrabel in the 2020 season prior to playing the Houston Texans talking about Zach Cunningham. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Josh in Nolensville is first up on this Friday. Hello, Josh.
Hello. Hey.
What's happening,
Am
buddy?
I on?
Yes, you are. You're on the air.
Dude, this has made my entire day. You have no idea.
Okay.
I was just going to ask, how big of an impact do you think Zach Cunningham will have on the Titans?
Just generally?
Just generally. Just because I've watched him, but I have no idea.
Okay, that's a fair question. Appreciate the call. We're happy that we could make your Friday. Do you think it was just because it's not talking about like talking to us, right? Just to be on the radio that made this Friday? Okay, very good. Thank you for all your help back there, Lucas. Zach Cunningham, here's what I will say to you. Based on my assessment of watching Zach Cunningham, I don't follow the Texans each and every day, right? So I would be lying to you if I said that I could give you a full breakdown of what Zach Cunningham is as a player, but I thought Mike Vrabel just described it pretty well. Now, when I watch every week, when I'm getting ready for my show on the radio, when I'm getting ready for the primetime show on A to Z, when I'm doing the film podcast, The Install with Greg Cosell, I watch that team's, the opponent that the Titans are going to play, I watch that team's last 3 games, typically through. And what you see on Zach Cunningham throughout the course of his career, since he's been in Houston, you see a very fast, very intelligent player who understands how to shed blocks in a way that make it very difficult to get a hat on him at the second level. He is somebody who is going to be around the play, around the football, on nearly every snap. He has great recovery speed. He has great, I won't say great athleticism. I would say he's an above-average athlete as far as NFL players are concerned. And you heard Mike kind of diagnose it. He's not physically overwhelming, but he is down to crack heads. And so Zach Cunningham is an I would say in a league where you can't really how many inside linebackers kind of stand out right now in today's NFL? I feel like I've had this conversation with you before as an audience, but I don't necessarily know that the importance of the inside linebacking position is amplified as much as it used to be, right? There's no Luke Kuechly's out there roaming and menacing in the middle of the field. You have a couple of players. I mean, Patrick Queen is not having that great of a season for the Ravens. Devin White has had pretty strong moments as a pro for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I'm looking a lot of inside linebackers at this point in the NFL. I don't want to call them interchangeable, but you've got a lot more guys who are playing down in the box that could technically be considered inside linebackers. No one overwhelming dominant player at the position. There's no Brian Urlacher. There's no Ray Lewis. There's no Luke Kuechly, as I mentioned. There's not
Bobby Wagner.
Bobby Wagner is that. Bobby Wagner is that. But it's much easier to forget about Bobby Wagner when he plays for a 4-8 Seattle Seahawks team.
Same with Roquan Smith with the Bears. I think he's crucial to their defense.
Roquan Smith is a good player, but that is not a household name, right? I think people would remember Roquan Smith now that you've mentioned it, but there's no transcendent player at the inside linebacking position. What Zach Cunningham is, as Zach, do we have the Zone TV cameras on Zach Lyons right now? Okay, so the audience can see Zach Lyons getting ready he's donned his apron because he has to eat a full plate of now microwaved Brussels sprouts. He seems to be confused by the, I think it's on backwards, the apron. This is just a test of, Zach Lyons' competency.
Just wear it backwards.
Just wear it backwards? Yeah, you should have to, out of shame. But what the genesis of this, and how to wrap up the point on the caller's question about Zach Cunningham, this is a really good player that you've got under contract until 24 if you want him to be here. And the beauty of it is he doesn't have to be here until 2024 if it is a situation where he does not perform up to expectations. They have done the contract in a way to where the Houston Texans are paying the vast majority of the freight on this, and that you can get out scot-free after next season. Now, Andrew, in the comments on YouTube, brought up an injury clause, a $10 million injury clause in his contract. That is a great question and one that we don't have the answer to at this particular time. Now, Zach Lyons, who is in studio, is setting up a very gourmet situation. There's a candle. There appears to be a floral arrangement.
It's so classy.
Very nice. To go along, he's brought a napkin to tuck into the apron, which is a lot of fuss for microwave Brussels sprouts. I don't even know them to be seasoned at this juncture. They are not seasoned.
I think that's part of the whole deal.
They have to be plain at this point. That is part of this is a gentleman and a scholar that he would stay this true to his bet. So let me tell you the genesis of this. This is from the @FWords Pod, Football and Other F Words. The podcast comes out every Tuesday. @FWords Pod on Twitter. If Zach Cunningham drops through waivers to the Titans, I'll eat a plate of plain steamed Brussels sprouts. And here's the kicker. Don't even get your hopes up. Oh no. Now he is going to do this live on camera for the entire world to see. So Zach Cunningham is now a Titan. For people asking, Penny Nichols has tweeted us and said, what channel is Zone TV? I listen in my car. Well, you can watch Zone TV on Facebook Live. You can watch it on 104.5 The Zone on YouTube. You can watch it wherever you like. Now, I can confirm that the Brussels sprouts smell horrendous. Smell awful. We are ruining the studio for the rest of the day for 3HL. We are ruining it for Blaine. Oh, no, 3HL's not in studio today.
They're in the Big Apple.
Oh, that's right. They're there for Army Navy, right? So it's just Blaine and Mickey that are going to have to suffer the consequences of this. And I've even been brought a Christmas gift by Zach Lyons. I'll open it now. You can hear the paper in the background. He's taking a gift back to Lucas, too. Mac, I guess, gets none. No soup for you.
No sprouts for you.
The Brussels sprouts smell really, really bad. They were not lying when they said this was going to be a disgusting experience. Now, I am looking at this. Oh. I've opened my gift from Zach Lyons. These are cat butt magnets that I'm holding up on Zone TV. Now, I suppose they're on my fridge. My fridge is stainless steel, though. I don't have a magnetic capable fridge, but it's okay. I'll find uses for this. Let's go ahead and put it on my laptop. Go ahead and turn his microphone on so the people can hear him.
I want them to hear me chew and this disgusting thing. I hate Brussels sprouts. And everybody, the reading comprehension in Tennessee is pretty bad.
Whoa.
Is what I've learned.
Whoa.
The education system has failed Tennessee because everybody's like telling me how to cook it. And I go, do you not understand? Plain, steamed, plateful. Does not mean I can't add bacon. I can't add salt. No pepper, no butter.
That is not cause for you to dismantle the education system in Middle Tennessee, although, there are some
All right, we're going in with the first
that leave to be desired. All right, so you're going to eat this live on camera, and I want for you...
You want me to make really loud chewing noises?
I think for theater of the mind purposes, you should have to chew very loudly. Ugh. Now, this is a microphone that's going to be used after you, so let's...
Well, I'm not going to be make out with it or anything.
Let's try and keep things within the protocol. Ugh.
I've got them too.
Why? You're eating them willingly.
Yeah, I'm a big Brussels sprouts guy.
He may vomit in this studio, which is going to only make it smell worse in here.
They're so healthy.
Jay says the camera angle is horrible. We can barely see him. If Mac, if you could adjust.
Is that better?
Let's have somebody else do it for you. You seem to be distracted. So I want you to give me your analysis of the Zach Cunningham acquisition as you eat the Brussels sprouts.
Well, I think it's basically you're getting a much better version of Rashaan Evans.
Okay. Which is exactly what you want, because Rashaan Evans, for all the athletic traits and all of the ability, all of the promise that Rashaan Evans has, I don't want to dismiss what Rashaan is, but I think that there is a degree of him that just lacks processing in real time and lacks situational awareness.
This Brussels sprout will not get out of my mouth. It's just there.
Okay, so it's just going to stay there, and you're going to have to continue to tell me why. So from your perspective, where do you most value the upgrade of Zach Cunningham over Rashaan Evans? Because that's what this ends up being. Rashaan Evans, who's out in all likelihood at the end of the season, unrestricted free agency. Now you have Zach Cunningham to come in and make it happen.
Well, I think he's better at diagnosing the plays, and it's all about the mental aspect. That's really all Rashaan Evans has truly missed, is the mental aspect of the game. It just has not slowed down for him, where he can process. Ooh, this is bad. Process, the play actions and all this stuff. And I know that the nerds over at PFF have said that Zach Cunningham bites on play action the most of any linebacker.
Nerds!
Spare me that you actually went through and watched every linebacker's play action snap and diagnosed that Zach Cunningham is the worst play action linebacker ever. And let me say this. Mike Vrabel loves some Zach Cunningham. Shane Bowen loves some Zach Cunningham. This is obviously a slap in the face of Jim Haslett, who loves Rashaan Evans. I mean, just will never say anything bad about him.
Okay, go ahead and take another bite, and I'll tell you what about Jim Haslett and Rashaan Evans, because I did ask Jim Haslett, who's the inside linebacking coach of the Titans, if you're unfamiliar, about Rashaan Evans, and what Jim gave me that was very, very quickly turned around and mocked on the internet by people like Zach Lyons, who I'm getting a little bit of justice now against as I watch him struggle to choke down these Brussels sprouts.
I want you to make eye contact with me while I eat these Brussels sprouts.
I don't think I can. It's very, very difficult to do, but not just because I fear that you're going to throw up on Blaine Bishop and Ron Slay's microphone and Ramon Foster's microphone, but because I fear that I'm going to vomit while watching.
Well,
you
I'll use this UT hat over here instead of the microphone.
There's a game-worn Ramon Foster helmet in here somewhere. You could puke.
Oh, there it is. I see it. I think he's over in the office over there. So if he's listening, just right here.
He's hiding out in the green room. He's hiding out. Yeah, you don't want to anger the big man. Don't mess with that helmet. Woo. So what Jim Haslett had to say about Rashaan Evans that was ceremoniously panned after the fact is that Rashaan played a lot better than people think that he played because of the amount that they asked Rashaan Evans to do. And I would say to you, if Rashaan Evans is a master of none, then why do you continue to try and utilize his skill set across so many different facets when it's clear that he's not good enough to execute the kind of things that you're asking him to? And on top of that, he's not necessarily a plus when it comes to orchestrating everybody else around him, because his biggest issue is making sure that he executes his assignment the way that he's supposed to, much less trying to balance everything else around him.
I got a theory on that.
Don't wave that Brussels
I'm
sprout.
gonna wave it around. I got a theory on that. I think Rashaan Evans is playing better than what everybody thinks, because everybody thinks he's playing the worst linebacking spot ever. So
Correct.
if he's instead of the worst ever, if he's just bad, that's still technically better than what everybody thinks, right?
Now, you assaulted the quote unquote nerds at Pro Football. I can hear them sloshing around in his mouth.
You got
Hey,
like
you
6
should
more.
hear it. You should taste it on mine.
No, thank you.
I have 7 more.
I have 3 more.
Lucas is hammering them behind the glass. Just absolutely.
Don't order me that burrito we were talking about.
No, you don't want
This
want
is
breakfast?
Good. This is good.
You're eating plain, unseasoned,
So I didn't know
microwave
Brussels
steamed-
sprouts and stinky farts are a thing. I knew asparagus and urine was, but not Brussels sprouts. So I feel really bad for my wife later.
We're sorry, Lauren. We'll go out to dinner on me after this, I'm sure. Lebowski in the comments on YouTube says nerds and the Tennessee education system and Rashaan Evans have taken a beating so far. Yeah, it's not been a pleasant experience. But here's my thing, all right? You feel it's not just about what he does this season. It's about the combination of David Long, Rashaan Evans, and potentially Monty Rice somewhere in the mix under contract for at least 2022, because that will be the expiration of David Long's rookie deal. Does that make you feel better about what this defense is going to be moving forward outside of just the 5 games that they have remaining in the regular season?
Absolutely. And it makes me feel so much better about the draft coming up, because that means that we should not see any mock drafts with an inside linebacker being given to the Titans in the first round. Because that was my fear, was that this team was going to end up drafting another first-round inside linebacker when you don't really have to. You don't have to spend high draft capital on an inside linebacker. And his contract is pretty manageable, considering that before the Titans signed him, they had like $24 million in cap space for 2022.
Right.
So obviously that's less because there's 10-5, but they could technically cut him before the day one or the opening of the league year and be off scot-free, because they don't have to give him that injury guarantee until that day, which is sometime in March, I believe.
Yes.
So, regardless, even if you keep him around for 10-5, he's going to be the number 10 linebacker right now in cap hit in 2022, which we all know what that means is that he'll end up, by the time a couple contracts come through and all this stuff, people get re-signed, restructured, he'll probably be around 15, which for a guy who led the NFL in tackles, who was poorly misused and mishandled over in the Texans, that's a pretty good deal. And he's a lot better than Rashaan Evans. So all those people that wanted to, pay Rashaan Evans like $14 or $15 million.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine?
Yeah. This is a much better deal, and it's manageable. And more than likely, the Tennessee Titans will do something crazy and restructure him and all that kind of stuff, and he'll be a low cap hit. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the cap.
Brussels sprout.
Don't worry about anybody else's. Don't worry about other people's money.
That's the biggest problem with the disparity between how fans do the analysis on who you can afford and who you can't afford, and what the reality of the situation is. It's not your money that they're spending.
No.
It's the Tennessee Titans money. It's Amy Adams Strunk's money. And, I appreciate you being so concerned with a multimillionaire and her bank account and her family's bank account. But respectfully, Amy Adams Strunk can continue to spend her money on the football team to improve the football team, and I will lose no nights of sleep over it. Like this
I'm
is
sweating. I'm just over here sweating.
This is like, that show Hot Ones where they eat the spicy wings? This is what that feels like for
This
Zach.
could be your new thing.
What, to bring you in studio on a regular basis to eat foods that you don't want to eat?
No, bring other guests in to eat Brussels sprouts that hate them. There's
like,
got to be more people that hate plain steamed Brussels sprouts.
I don't know. Brussels sprouts are kind of a thing. Like, I feel like if you go to restaurants now, there's like 17 different. I love Fifth and Taylor. No free ads, but I love Fifth and Taylor, and I love their Brussels sprouts because the way they do them, it doesn't taste at all like Brussels sprouts. Now, it's probably infinitely less healthy the way that they are.
Yeah, but this is plain and steamed. Like,
No.
you have to eat it.
And I'm watching somebody directly across from me in the production
He's
studio.
a freak. I mean, he's an absolute freak.
He's a machine. He's hammering these Brussels sprouts down, and he's staring you down. He's like he's asserting his dominance.
I have one left.
You have like a minute to finish this plate of Brussels sprouts, by the way.
Oh, I have to finish it by the time
By the end of the segment,
Yeah,
by
we're
the
up
time
against
I
it
go to
here.
commercial break, those
Oh
have to
my
be done.
God.
So get to it.
I didn't know that.
No, well, I've decided this in the last few minutes, and since there are no rules, I'm making the rules.
So I'm
he's
gonna have to go
doubling
2 at a
down.
time.
Two at
He's
a time.
doubling down.
It's going to be a disaster.
It's delightful.
Whatever happens next is on you.
If you don't know what's happening, Zach Lyons, our buddy from the Football and Other F Words
Oh,
podcast.
they're already gotten cold.
The Brussels sprouts are cold. He's putting them in his mouth 2 at a time. He's doing this because he said that he would eat a full plate of steamed, unseasoned Brussels sprouts. And so I texted him last night. Oh, I called him first. He was.
Dude, you tried calling me. I don't get this obsession that you have with calling people.
It's faster. I don't want to waste my time dragging out text messages. I feel like I'm.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't have had that great screenshot.
Well, yeah, I did very quickly betray your trust by tweeting out our text exchange to the unknowing and unwitting public. But yeah, he is doing this because he said there was a 0% chance that Zach Cunningham would be claimed by the Titans on waivers, and so now we are literally making him eat his shame as form
I wish
of
I would have
punishment.
waited until the injury contract stuff came out because I wouldn't have tweeted it.
615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. Bet his sweat stinks, says Darrington on YouTube. Yeah, the sweat is bad right now. Do you fear this Jags team at all?
Actually, I do. I think they're a lot better than people give them credit for on defense. And you saw them hold the Bills, who have a much better offense than the Tennessee Titans as far as pass catchers go. And they hung with the Rams for a full half. And they were really causing some problems to Matt Stafford. So I truly believe that this is not I heard, I don't know who it was in J. Martin Ramon, but someone said, oh, this is a gimme game. Not a gimme game.
And that's what they told me about the Texans, right? And the faceless, nameless they. That's what they told me about the Texans. Don't look at me when you have a Brussels sprout hanging out of your mouth. That's deeply concerning. It's not nearly as erotic as you think it is.
Once he swallows here, he did it.
I did.
You did it? Not until you swallow. Spitters or quitters. I would say to you that I almost got him there.
Woo! Yeah, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
Somebody has to. I will say to you.
Oh, that almost came up. That was a bad one. I went too big on the swallow.
I have no idea if this is good radio or not, but I'm delighted by the way that we're doing this in studio. I hope that the visual bit is enough to pay off the fact that we're doing this on a primarily
That one almost came up.
audio
He
medium.
did it.
You ate the Brussels sprout. You just showed me a mouthful or half a mouthful of chewed Brussels sprouts. I did not.
This
need
is
to see
great
that.
radio because the people at home have probably tuned in to watch me eat these, but I also gave them really good analysis.
Yes, you are the draw for today. It's not Rodger Saffold. It's not Coach Mack. It's
Nobody
Zach Lyons.
wants to hear from Rodger Saffold.
Okay, I will. Well, you will hear from Rodger Saffold at 12:35 when he joins us on the show.
You can ask him about Brussels sprouts and his love affair with them.
I don't think that will come up. I don't. I just a guess. Although he did question my Egyptian heritage in the last conversation that I had with him. So I am going to have to. I'm going to have to rough Rodger Saffold up, which is hilarious to think about me roughing Rodger Saffold up because Rodger's literally built like Superman. So you fear the Jags. You kind of fear the Jags.
Kind of fear the Jags.
Kind of fear
like,
the Jags.
the
You fear the
offense
Jags
sucks.
defense.
Yeah.
The offense is untenable.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to talk about how the Jags are ruining. A round of applause. I know we did it earlier, but one more.
Thank you.
Zach, a golf clap.
Thank you.
Zach Lyons, who has come in, who has been brave. He's set the scene. It's very festive in here.
And he brought gifts.
He did bring gifts.
Brought me a nice little highball glass.
Oh, you got an actual. I got cat butt magnets. You have something that's actually nice.
Well, it's because he's the host of the show. It's his show. You gotta give the guy with the power.
Yes, it reads The Lucas Panzica Show on 104.5 The Zone.
Well, it's funny because I went to a Friendsgiving at Lucas's house, and because he lives in squalor among his, I walked up to the house. There's like sports teams flags hanging from the balcony or whatever. Like I thought I was walking up to a UT frat house. And
I mean, we've
no, it's a lovely home.
We've touched the place up.
It's a lovely home. Yes, the scarf wall for Nashville SC is a very nice touch. And the primary artwork being his what do you call those things? The frat. What are they called? The pictures.
Oh yeah, there's a composite in there somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, there's a frat composite on the wall and a giant UT flag. You'd love it there.
Don't pigeonhole me.
but I go over for Friendsgiving and I'm looking for like a glass, like glassware, and he's drinking out of a very nice gift that we got from one of our listeners that were custom designed Buck Reising Show highball glasses. And these are the glasses that he's choosing to drink out of, and he offers me one, and I said, I'm absolutely not doing that. I refuse to drink out of a glass that has my own name on it.
I didn't think you put that together. How just
Do you understand how people already
it's not a cool thing to do.
People already think that I'm a D-bag. Like, I cannot lean full into it by drinking
they
from
don't
a glass.
think it, they know it.
Well, it's because it's true.
Yeah.
But I can't further entrench the stigmatism that I have, the stereotype that I carry by drinking from a glass with my own name.
We own 4 highball glasses, now 5. Thank you,
Yeah,
Zach.
no
and
problem.
the Buck Reising Show glasses are 2 of them. So.
You know how I know that he lives in squalor like you described? He keeps calling it a highball glass when it's just a standard whiskey glass. It's not a highball.
What's the difference?
Peasant.
Oh.
Go to break. Welcome back. Buck Reising here with you till 1 o'clock. Don't forget Coach Dave McGinnis. He's coming up at 11:20. Got left guard Rodger Saffold on the show today as well. 12:35 is where you can hear from the one they call Big Smooth. 615-737-1045 is the number. Some breaking news. As far as the Houston Texans are concerned, Texans stay making news here in the last couple of days. Zach Lyons, by the way, is our guest in studio.
I got to stick around. I feel like I earned it.
Well, the cat butt magnets bought you some grace.
All right.
Even as you tried to undermine my authority. But it's okay.
I like your sunglasses, though, there, right there.
I believe those are Jason Martin's eye surgery glasses.
Oh.
Honestly, they look like something I would probably wear to a game.
100%.
What, you disapprove of my fashion choices at Titans games?
They're a little here and there, a little hit and miss. Nobody's as good as Tehran. I mean,
Tehran's really good. Tehran's why I started dressing up for games because I think he felt bad for me. Like what was this, the 2018 season? Tehran has all kinds of great outfits that he wears to the Titans games. Well, let me get to the breaking news first, then we'll talk about attire at football games. Davis Mills is now the new starting quarterback of the Houston Texans. Tyrod Taylor, whoever it is, doesn't matter. He's benched. Davis Mills is the Texans quarterback for the rest of the season, so the Texans tank is on. Now, they are still not the first overall pick in the NFL draft if the season was to end today. That honor belongs to the 1-10-1 Detroit Lions, who are still technically in the hunt for a playoff spot. Mathematically, the Houston Texans, who do not own the first overall pick, are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. The Lions, by the grace of something, are still in the postseason picture if they win out.
And I'll be rooting for them the rest of the way.
Why do people root for bad? Why? Like
that
if
creates
Dan
chaos.
Okay, the chaos element of it is fine. I think that, but you don't need that in the NFL. Like there's teams like the Bills are losing to the Jags 9-6 and things like that. Like there's ridiculous results all over the NFL. You want more?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't unlike Brussels sprouts, I can't get enough chaos.
I will say, if the Lions lose to the Broncos this weekend, 1-11-1 might be the funniest record in NFL history.
Oh, that is true.
What are they? That's not like scorigami, right? I mean, I
wonder if that's ever.
existed?
I don't know. Great question.
Thank you. I'm full of them.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. I want to root for that because it's just ones across the board.
I just don't get, like, if Dan Campbell was a legitimately good coach and a threat to another NFL franchise, like, people would hate Dan Campbell. And instead, Dan Campbell is being held up as like this, this lovable loser type situation. And I think Dan Campbell to be genuine. But like this celebration of the Lions winning one game, maybe I'm just a bad guy and I don't like happiness for bad teams. But like I don't understand why this is being celebrated the way that it is.
Well, because you don't want to be. I know it's 0-10-1, but you don't want to go 0-16-1 and be a winless team twice in the same generation. Like you don't want to be that team. So it's really not about them feeling good about. I think it's okay for them to celebrate about the win. I saw a lot of people crapping on it. You weren't the only one, but to me, it's okay. I mean, like these guys go out there, they practice every week, they work hard, they expect to win games, and they lost a lot of close games throughout the year, a lot of heartbreakers, and they just don't want to be that team, and especially the Lions, to be that team that goes winless again.
The Ravens are like 4 plays away from being the Minnesota Vikings this season. People understand that?
They're probably less than that. Or more plays than that and worse than the Vikings. Like, I think the Ravens are one of the worst teams going that are being vaunted as one of the best teams.
I mean, they have an MVP at quarterback. Like, you can't discount that in any way because even if he looks... No,
if he's playing poorly, you can discount it. I mean, people discount Ryan Tannehill, but because he's got an MVP 2 seasons ago, he's awash from the sins of throwing 4 interceptions and barely keeping his, missing receivers.
Yeah, but he
everywhere.
won the 4 interception game.
6 interceptions the last 3 weeks to 3 touchdowns.
And what's their record in the last 3 weeks?
Lost to the Steelers, won the week before, Not sure what they did the week before that.
Okay, find that for me if you wouldn't mind, Lucas, because I think that's relevant. Because we had Diana Rossini on yesterday. She said she has ceased believing in the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with that notion, but I'm saying it's like Lamar Jackson on any given drive, right? First and second down may be horrendous, and then he'll make the best third down play that you ever seen in your life.
2-1.
With
Why
his
Lamar
legs.
is who he is.
2-1 the last 3
With
weeks.
his legs.
All well and good, but he's still winning. Like he can win the game that way. I don't care if he does it with his legs or his arm.
I mean, the defense needs to get some love too. I mean, the defense is doing a lot for them.
I'm not
as
saying
well.
there's any one reason why the Ravens are a winning football team. I'm saying that there is reason to believe that they're not nearly as good as they look, and that the
they're
Vikings
definitely
are
not as good
not
as they are.
nearly as bad as they've been. Right?
They have a horrible head coach. I'm out on Mike Zimmer. He can't even keep the foot on the gas pedal. Last night in that game, he let it off, and then he almost lost the game.
Let the broken body of Ben Roethlisberger try and lead a fourth quarter comeback against him, which was exciting, thank God, because the first 3 quarters were about as interesting as watching Zach Lyons eat a full plate of Brussels sprouts in studio. Football and Other F Words is the podcast. New episodes every Tuesday. It's Zach, it's Lebowski. It's really, really good. You can check it out wherever it is you get your podcast, courtesy of the Broadway Sports Media Network. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. When we come back, I'll tell you what specifically the Jags are doing to ruin Trevor Lawrence, and I'm upset about it because it's really, really bad. And I know Titans fans are okay with it, but I want the young quarterback to do well, even if he plays in Jacksonville. We'll tell you what's going on with Trevor Lawrence coming up next. Hour number 2, welcome in 104.5 The Zone. We're having a lot of fun today. We appreciate Zach Lyons for being a trooper, coming in studio and paying off his bet. We will have Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio, the man in black. He joins us next because we had to move Mac. Now, normally we wouldn't move Mac for anybody. Coach Mac's the headliner. But Rodger Saffold's going to be on today's show, and we had to accommodate Rodger after practice. So we will have Rodger at 12:35 and Mac coming up next. 615-737-1045 is the number. That's how you can jump in on this conversation. 615-737-1045 is how you join the party on this Friday. Full send is the method. So I want to talk about Trevor Lawrence because I think people understand, or maybe they don't. I think my larger point with this is I don't necessarily know how many people are watching Jags games on a week-in, week-out basis, other than for Titans fans to look at the final box score, see that they've lost again, point at them and laugh. And that may be all that you require in your life. But I think for people who are watching this stuff more closely and who are trying to figure out, all right, is Trevor Lawrence going to be a threat to me in this division for the next decade, potentially decade plus? What is going wrong in Jacksonville? Is he a bad player? Do I have anything to fear or to be concerned about moving forward with the Titans and the Jags and knowing that you'll see this team twice a year, every year, as long as you're in the same division? So there's some stuff that is coming out about Trevor Lawrence as far as what he has been or what he has been unable to do. Now, there's a great many reasons why the Jags are as bad as they are. But this was a stat that was put out on by CBS, Will Brinson of CBS on, what was that? Wednesday rather. The tweet says, extremely concerning to see Trevor Lawrence on this quote-unquote leaderboard. The leaderboard is this: fewest yards per attempt through 12 career starts since the 2010 draft. There are 5 names on this list. Trevor Lawrence is one of them. Let's play some trivia, Lucas, if you have a moment. If you could guess one of the names on this list, I'll give you a hint. One of them also was drafted by the Jags. Okay, there's 5 names. Fewest yards per attempt through 12 career starts in the NFL since 2010. So this is not going, it's going back 11 years. Trevor Lawrence is one. There's another quarterback that was drafted by the Jags on this list since 2010. In no particular, well, there is a particular order. I'll give you the order. Can you guess even one of the other names on this list?
Blaine Gabbert.
Blaine Gabbert is number 2 on this list with the second fewest yards per attempt, 5.41. Trevor Lawrence is 4th on the list, 5.9. You want to guess who he's above?
Jake Locker.
Josh Rosen. Jimmy Clausen, Blaine Gabbert, Derek Carr, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Rosen. Now, Derek Carr is interesting because I don't think we associate Derek Carr with being a check-down quarterback, but there have been moments where he does tend to paper cut you to death, whether that's the offensive system that he's asked to play within, because he is an incredible. His arm talent is what made him a second-round draft pick in the first place.
He's like second in the league in passing yards.
Yeah, no, I mean, but on how many attempts, right? So yards per attempt, the point being, this is a hugely constipated offense right now. They are struggling mightily to move the ball, and they're struggling to even target players downfield. Now, the problem is multifold, right? The talent is not there. Marvin Jones, who I would have loved to see in a Titans uniform during the free agency process, he goes to Jacksonville, and he has been not good. He has gone from potentially a 2 or a 3 wide receiver to barely either of those things. Laviska Shenault is an interesting player. I think that there are creative ways for him to be used, but he's not being utilized, it seems, correctly within that offense. James Robinson is their running back. On paper, this should be a pretty solid, not great, but solid collection of skill position players. Their wide receivers have been bad. Their running game has suffered because their offensive line that is, I think, in like year 3 of being together. Andrew Norwell was an all-pro He got one of the biggest contracts an offensive lineman has ever had when he came out in free agency after being with the Carolina Panthers, going to the Jags on a big contract. They've got 2 first-round picks playing tackle, and the offensive line is a mess. So all of that combines to a place where your defense is playing better if you're the Jags in the last couple of weeks, but it's not good enough to survive the onslaught of even teams that are questionable right now, i.e. their last opponent, the Los Angeles Rams, where they keep it close for a half and then the dam breaks. And everything starts to spiral, and your rookie quarterback, instead of doing what Mac Jones is being asked to do, which is, hey, Mac, I don't want you to throw the ball. If I could get away with you with that, if I could get away with a game plan, I'm being Bill Belichick now. If Bill Belichick could get away with a game plan where Mac Jones doesn't throw a pass, I bet he'd do it. He doesn't need him to. They just beat the Bills in a divisional game on the road to improve their record to 6-0 on the road by having the quarterback throw 3 passes and technically run the ball 5 times. 3 of those were only 3 of those were actual runs, 2 kneel downs in the middle of that. And Mac Jones is being celebrated as Rookie of the Year, right? I mean, that's the perception of Mac Jones. When in reality, they're doing a lot to take the burden out of the quarterback's hands. Trevor Lawrence, the score is getting away from him. He's having to chase. He's having to drop back to pass way more than a rookie quarterback should. They can't rely on their run game. And so now Trevor Lawrence is sputtering. He has really, really underwhelmed, but I don't necessarily think it's his fault. It's from a trait standpoint, he's still the best of those 5 quarterbacks that came out in this year's draft. But everywhere else, I mean, my God, he has had 1 touchdown pass since Halloween. It came in a 21-14 loss to the Atlanta Falcons, who Tom Brady just threw 4 touchdowns against. Tom Brady completed over 70, I think it's like 74% of his passes. Brady threw the ball 51 times, 4 touchdowns. He had 1 bad pick six, but the Falcons can't pressure anybody. And even then, this is a team that the Jags lost to. The burden, and maybe Titans fans don't care about this, right? Because the audience, you are a Titans fan in all likelihood. The vast majority of you are Titans fans. And you're probably hearing this analysis of Trevor Lawrence and maybe even fist pumping, basically, by saying, yeah, let him suck. And I understand why that would be the case. Now, as somebody who is a fan of football, I want to see all these guys do well. And it just comes down to the fact that geographically, Trevor Lawrence got banged here. Like, this is a bad spot because the best indicator of rookie quarterback success is where they land. And Trevor Lawrence with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Zach Wilson with the New York Jets, Justin Fields with the Chicago Bears. None of those situations seem to be terribly good for the future of those guys, all 3 of them, trying to succeed at a level where they should absolutely be capable of succeeding at. Davis Mills, at this point, is another one of these rookie quarterbacks. And Davis, I mean, I might venture to say that Davis Mills has outperformed Trevor Lawrence. That's a really, really bad situation. Now, Davis Mills is also in a terrible spot with the Houston Texans, where everybody you have Zach Cunningham orchestrating his own waiver situation, basically, because he refuses to cooperate with the Houston Texans coaching staff because it's just gotten that bad down there. 9 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. He's averaging 5.9 yards per attempt. He's completing under 60% of his passes, 58.0 on the dot. 2-10 are the Jags. Trevor Lawrence is going to get ruined if this keeps up. If you're a Titans fan, that's what you're rooting for. If you're a fan of the sport, and frankly, I got no issues with Trevor Lawrence. I want to see him do well. And it seems that everything around him that was supposed to be built to help him is failing at nearly every level. Coaching, personnel, and then, it's still the Jags. When we come back, we'll talk about it with Coach Dave McGinnis. We'll break the game down at great length. We'll talk about the Titans offense, where they need to thrive, where they need to have greater success. And we'll get Mac's assessment of Ryan Tannehill right now, because I think even though Mac is a Titans employee, even though Mac is on the Titans radio network, I think Mac's assessment of Ryan Tannehill, it will be fairly honest. So the man in black joins us coming up next. I'm Buck Reising. It's It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back, 104.5 The Zone. You know what that music means. It means Coach Mack. Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio in the house. Mack, it's good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you, Buck. Glad you're back safe from your trip. That's very, very cool. It's good to see you again. And so here we go.
Yeah, here we go indeed. The Titans get back on the field. Titans Radio, of course, has the call. Noon on Sunday against the Jacksonville Jags. Mac, there's so many different things that all come back to the health of the football team. Like, no matter how many times we want to break it down throughout the course of the week, it's just so critical that they get as many bodies out there as humanly possible. So this starts to look like the team that we thought we were going to be talking about at the start of the season.
Well, you know, I get to be at practice every day, and there are more people practicing.
Yeah.
They've been able to practice with a little bit more speed, which, Mike Vrabel and his staff, Buck, have not been able to do. You know, they've been doing a really tremendous job of trying to craft practices to let as many people be out there and take reps as they can. But now they're starting to get some people back. And I know people, get tired of hearing about injuries, and that's one reason coaches and clubs don't talk about injuries, because it's just there. You have to overcome it, but you have to work with it and through it. But all things being equal, you want your best dudes back, and we need our best dudes back, and I think we've got a chance to get some of them back.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty good situation. We'll see how many of the guys that were designated to return from injured reserve actually get cleared before Sunday's game, and how many more have kind of worked through that return to play protocol. But I mean, the biggest news, Mac, is Zach Cunningham, who will not be available for the game on Sunday because he has to go through the COVID protocols. But at this point, this is a pretty massive acquisition for a team that could use a little extra depth at inside linebacker with David Long missing some extended time. What kind of stands out about him as a player, and how well is this marriage going to work?
Buck, every time that we got ready to play the Texans, in not only this year, in years past when Zach Cunningham has been there, in our production meetings and in our pregame, you'd hear Mike Vrabel say, if you don't get a hat on him, he's going to make all the tackles. And he does. I mean, he's been a very, very productive player. I don't pretend to have any inside knowledge on what went on down there in Houston. That's not what I do. But I know, just evaluating him as a football player, he can help this team. And he can help. It's an unusual situation in this aspect, as you well know. He played for Mike Vrabel for 1 year. Mm-hmm. Mike Vrabel knows him. He knows Nashville. He's a Vanderbilt kid. And so to me, and this wasn't, you released a player because of injury, and you didn't release a player because of some felonious conviction. I mean, there were other issues, but clearly, John Robinson and Mike Vrabel have cleared those issues as a football player, and especially now with the way our linebacker core is, because we've still got some guys that need to come back in that group. I like it. I like it a lot. I was asked even before this came down, standing out there on the sideline, if he's available, what would you think? And I said, I would be all in for it. I just didn't think with our claiming position we'd be able to get him.
No, I looked like a horse's ass the other day, Mac, because I'm like, there's no way. They're in the low 20s basically in the waiver order based on strength of schedule if teams have the same record. So I was thinking there would be almost an infinitesimal chance that he would fall to them, and he ends up coming to them. So, who looks like a dummy?
Well, no, you're not a dummy, but I mean, I like it. I like it, and I really want it to end up helping the Titans in this last stretch.
Yeah, and certainly that will be something. Just depth, able bodies to be able to execute what they're asked, and the coaching staff has done a really good job putting in game plans that the players are able to execute no matter who's on the roster at any given point, whether it's on a Thursday, whether they're called up from the practice squad on a Saturday. I think that for all the reasons to look at them and be like, okay, how sustainable is what they're doing so far because of the rash of injuries. That New England game, the 4 turnovers, damn you, but the game plan was successful in what they were trying to execute, even if the quarterback wasn't doing anything crazy.
I could not agree with you more on that. They had a plan for them. They really did. And as you say, now you can't take the turnovers away because they happened, and you allowed them to happen. But the fact that they knew what they wanted to do going into that football game to at least give themselves a chance. And they were still within reach of that football game, right up until the fourth quarters when it fell apart because the turnovers finally – you reach a tipping point in games. I mean, you've done enough of them to see. You reach a tipping point. But their plan was fine. But this, going into this next 5-week stretch of really one-game seasons is what it is, Buck. They have got to get back to – I mean, we were +2 before we went on that -9 stretch in 2 weeks, and so what we've got to get back to, we've got to be able to get back to taking it away on defense, which means, playing really good first and second down defense and giving them 3rd and 7+ so we can go get the quarterback and make him get off his spot. And also, you got to protect the football. When you have it, see, really on offense, when it's turnovers, you turned it back over to them. On defense, it's takeaways. Yeah. And that's what we need.
Yeah, and that's been the issue, one of the biggest issues in the last 2 games, no takeaways and 9 giveaways on the other side. Coach Dave McGinnis is here with us on 104.5 The Zone Titans Radio. As always, he's presented by our friends at Farm Bureau Health Plans, like an extra set of pads. Since 1947, they've been protecting Tennesseans. Farm Bureau Health Plans, the best in the business. Mac, you talk about disrupting the quarterback, getting him off his spot. He being Trevor Lawrence at this point in his rookie season, there's a lot of reasons why it looks the way it does, it would seem. There is a talent disparity, I would say, and it's a difficult position that he's been put in, but he has 1 touchdown pass since Halloween, and it came in a loss against the Falcons. He really seems to be having to work through a lot of different things, and I don't know how easy I know him to be capable, obviously. He's a hugely talented player, but when you kind of diagnose all of the issues, where do you start with first with what's happening with Trevor Lawrence in that offense?
Well, I think you hit it. I mean, it's the people around him. When you look at him, he still has all the requisite skills to be the number 1 pick. I think he will be a franchise quarterback in this league, but you're 100% right, and that's what I see when I watch all of their stuff from beginning to end. You don't really, because he has never really had a chance to start to perfect what he wants to do because it's been so uneven down there. It's been so uneven. This guy is a talent. He's a talented player. He's a second leading rusher on the team. That's just because of his physical talent. All right, but throwing the ball and with the people that he's had with him and around him, and then, Buck, for a quarterback, especially a young quarterback in the league, a number 1 pick in the league that has all of that stuff on top of him before he ever even spins one down the field, and then to be, first of all, the score separated on him a lot early. Okay, that happens to him. It just does. And then, so to me, I haven't seen. And people have asked this. They've asked this here in this market. They've asked me nationally about it. When I look at it, what do I see? I don't see any – I can't sit here and say I see any real progressive development at any precise points. But here's the reasons why. I still think he's going to be a franchise quarterback in this league because he's got all the skills that it takes. And to me, when you go as a quarterback, Buck, early in the draft, you're normally going to a not good team. Yeah. Right? That's why Mac Jones needs to, whoever he counts his blessings with every day, because he went to a perfect setup. And, I mean, that's a great example of it.
Say a couple prayers to the football gods if you're Mac Jones. He seems to be in a pretty good position. I think the thing that most surprises me, Mac, when I watch them is that offensive line group for Jacksonville has been together for a while. They've got talented players, a couple of top draft choices at tackle. And they have really, really underwhelmed this season. And I think if you're talking about what would hold a rookie quarterback back as much as anything, it seems like that offensive line and that run game being such a week-to-week proposition has really cost them opportunities to stay in games.
Well, and again, a lot of it goes with score separation.
Yeah.
Because, when a defense can line up in a sprinter stance and disregard the run, well, then you've got a chance. Let's and again, let's not have real short memories. Let's go back to when we played them in October. I mean, they had a lot of yards rushing.
Yeah,
they ran the football. And they've got some talented runners. What's going on now? With their running backs, I can't tell you because that was very strange in what happened in the ball game. Last week.
Yeah.
I'm not there. You're not there. We don't know. But I wouldn't, to me, when you go into this ballgame, you've got to get ready to defend the run game. You have to get ready to defend the run game and then let everything else work off of that. And with that saying, you need to be able, just like we said when we first started this segment. You got to be able to put them into 3rd and 7+.
Yeah.
That's what this defense has to do this game. Get them into 3rd and 7+, and then the scales start to tip in your favor.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the injury report this week. Harold Landry and Danico Autry have been on it, both having worked. Everybody's working through stuff at this time of year, but certainly those two are important to keep an eye on at this point. Coach Dave McGinnis is our guest here on 104.5 The Zone, talking Titans and Jags. Mac, that defense for Jacksonville has been – it was one of their biggest issues last season. They have played pretty good football, even if I know people are going to box score scout them and say, well, the Rams put 37 points on them. I think there's a lot that gets left out when you're looking at how well they've tried to play to be able to keep up in these games and how they've derailed teams like Buffalo with standout defensive performances.
Well, Cullen, their defensive coordinator, now I tell you what, he's going to bring pressure. And what's unique about him, he's going to bring pressure from the secondary. He'll bring it from the corner. He'll bring it, with safeties down in different spots. So you've got to be ready pre-snap to identify what they're doing. They disguise it fairly well. So what you have to be able to do, because he knows. I mean, Josh Allen's still rushing the passer. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's a good player, but Cullen knows that he's going to have to make things happen just because of the state of their football team right now. So the Titans are going to have to be ready to identify, especially people coming from that second and third level, very, very quickly pre-snap, and be able to work against that. That's going to be something that, because you got a 2-10 football team that you're playing. And again, I hope our memories aren't short enough to forget, what has happened.
Mac, I got people telling me who's a good player and a bad player on a week-by-week basis. The way that we do the analysis drives me crazy.
Yeah, and so that you don't have to do that. All we need to do is work in the present. And you asked me about their defense. Their defense is going to present some pressure issues just because of the different ways they bring them, and we've got to be ready for that.
Yeah, it is going to be an interesting game, and divisional games are certainly not an opponent that you can sleep on by any stretch of the imagination. The Titans learned that against the Texans a couple of weeks ago. With what the Titans offense is doing right now, Mac, I think outside of the game plan being clear and obvious with how they were going to try and take advantage of what the Patriots were doing defensively, I was comforted is probably the wrong word, but they found explosive plays in a way that they haven't. Now, they were doing it in the run game. The passing game still leaves something to be desired. And, of course, both of those fumbles by Dontrell Hilliard and Deontay Foreman, they derail you in a huge way. But with who they are as far as playing Titan football is concerned, that's as close as it's looked in a long time.
Well, I agree with you. And they found a little bit, and this is really the first time, against the Patriots, I think that they found a little bit of rhythm with that two-back system that they have to use right now.
Yeah,
they had a real good rhythm when we had the horse back then. But now, I mean, with this two-back, they found a little bit of a rhythm with that, and they need to continue that. And the explosive plays of the run game come when you continue to hand it off. But I agree with you, and they will get some people back that I think can help them with that explosive game, through the air. But before you can do that, you can't just go out there and start spinning it on 9 routes down the field, which are takeoff. You just can't. You can't do that. But to your point, if the run game is working, then a lot of stuff works off of that. And so we started this off with the right conversation. Need to get our dudes back.
Yeah.
Get our dudes back. Get them practicing at speed, and then let's take this thing. This is 5 one-week seasons is what we're in. Let's do that.
Yeah. Mike Vrabel spoke about it the other day. This is the most important time of the year for NFL teams who are trying to jockey for position. No question about that. I want to stick with Dontrell Hilliard, though, for a second, though, Mac. What kind of stands out about him from a traits standpoint as a player?
Well, first of all, he's very, very sneaky at the line of scrimmage, at the hole, and he's got acceleration. This kid's got speed. I mean, he can go, mm-hmm. and he can not only he can get up inside, and then he can find that next crease. There's always a couple of creases in the run game. There's that initial wave, and then you've got to be able to avoid. And sometimes it's not so much avoiding; it's being able to have that quick enough burst to get past that second level, and then start doing your work in the open field, and then see if you've got enough wheels to outrun people. he's got some of that, and I like that. And I think he and Foreman are a really good balance, between the two. 'Cause Foreman's a big back.
Yeah.
He's a big back, and so I like Hilliard. I just want him to hold on to the ball.
Yeah, I think everybody would agree with that sentiment. Coach Dave McGinnis is breaking down the Titans and the Jags this coming Sunday. Titans Radio on the call. Of course, noon is the kickoff, but Rhett Bryan, Amy Wells have you covered with Titans Countdown at 11 o'clock, and our live and local coverage starts at 9 a.m. with the Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff. Mac, with Julio Jones and what you've been able to see at practice at this point, we understand what he is when he's available. We understand what the threat of him means to defenses and what it allows you to free up more offensively. As you say, it's just about getting your dudes back. What's kind of been your observation, even though it's a small sample size and we don't get to see it? I know you see a lot more than we get to see at practice, but based on what we're allowed to disclose, what have you been able to see from Julio Jones?
Well, he's working his way back. I mean, that's, he hasn't been out there at all. So now he's out there and he's working his way back. And he will, once he gets on the field, whichever game that is, whether it's now or whether it's next week or whenever. I mean, you've got certain receivers in this league, Buck, and you know this, and so do our listeners. We refer to them as gravity receivers because they draw things into them, and that's what he is before he ever catches a football because of what he's done and what he can do. So we need him back on the field. We need AJ back on the field. Because those guys are really good players, and really good players are at a premium in this league. We need our really good players back on the field, but he's working his way back.
Yeah, with Ryan Tannehill, it's completely understandable what he's going through right now, given all the different changing parts around him. But if there is one place where he needs to elevate his game as they await more of their guys coming back, what are you kind of seeing when you watch him on tape?
Just protect the ball. Just protect the ball. And there's every time he's thrown the ball to an opponent, there's a different reason for it.
Sure.
And so there's no one set of reasons. Clearly, you can start leaning on the crutch of different players, different people in there. But at the end of the day, and Ryan Tannehill will stand up and tell you this, and he's very honest when he talks. He has the ball, and he's in charge of it, and it's his job to protect it. And so he's got to do a better job of that.
Coach Dave McGinnis, he's presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Him and Mike Keith are going to kill it on Sunday because that's what they always do between the Titans and the Jags on Titans Radio. You can hear it on 104.5 The Zone or wherever it is that you hear Titans Radio. Mac, it's always a good time. I appreciate you breaking it down with me.
See you in the press box, Buck.
Absolutely.
Look forward to it. See you. Thanks.
Coach Dave McGinnis, the best in the business. Did you guys have Coach Mac last week while I was gone?
We did.
Did you enjoy yourselves?
Very much. How could we not?
It's true. It's a ray of light, even though he dresses in all black consistently. Do we think he has multiple of the same outfit? He has to, right? It can't be the same outfit every day.
I would venture to say he's probably got 100 to 200 of those.
I love it. I love hanging out in the booth before the games, right before kickoff with Mike Keith and Coach Mack and Amy and Rhett Bryan and the whole Titans radio crew before we do our pregame hit with Jim Wyatt. 15 minutes before kickoff, I think is when Jimmy and I normally do that portion of the pregame coverage. But it will be an interesting game because for all the reasons that we just laid out with Mac, right? You are looking at a situation where you just need guys back on the field. And I know that people are so sick and tired of hearing about injury. I understand why that is the case. I understand why that drives you crazy at this point. But that's the root of all the analysis right now. You cannot legitimately analyze the Tennessee Titans, how good, how bad, or wherever they are, without talking about these injuries. I saw a lot of people barking yesterday at Diana Rossini. She was on Get Up, and she had at the forefront of what they were talking about on Get Up that morning. She said injuries, Browns, Ravens, Bengals, basically the AFC North. She listed a bunch of teams and injuries at the top, and I saw people yelling at Diana, "You bring up injuries, but you don't bring up the Titans? What is wrong with you? Stop it." Why do people do that? Why do you insist on clamoring for it that way? If they're talking about you and injuries, it's probably not a good thing. I don't understand with this obsession for their for this constant need for there to be conversation from people like Diana around the Tennessee Titans. Now, Diana did give us I heard we got aggregated yesterday, Lucas. Diana dropped a bit of a nugget as far as Derrick Henry's status is concerned, and I think it is worth playing back for people who didn't hear it yesterday on where Derrick Henry is at this point and where things are trending as far as his return to play potentially.
Yeah, I definitely would say that, optimistic attitude is the best way to describe it. This going back to closer to when Derrick originally injured it, or at least got the surgery to fix the problem. I don't think anybody listening here who's a Titans fan doubts Derrick Henry's will and effort he's going to put in to the rehab process to get back out on the field. And I think it's going to be one of those situations where, I think anytime we talk timeline, it's always hard because it's medical. You never know what setbacks are going to happen. But if there's any player, I think right now who's on IR, who has potential to get back sooner, I think it's Derrick Henry. And, the doctors and medical professionals are all saying that this type of injury takes, 6 to 8 weeks from it. And you do the math and it makes sense as it falls in January. But I think that this organization feels it's going to be on the early side of it rather than the later.
Early side of things. Uh-oh. People's Derrick Henry senses are tingling. What did they – I love that the F Words pod guys have, different names for the months around Derrick Henry. You have D-Hember. You have Henuary. Sounds like it's trending towards being a very merry Henuary this time in about a month from now. We'll keep an eye on it. When we come back, we're going to discuss more at length about these Titans and the Jags, what to look for coming out of today's final day of practice before Rodger Saffold joins us fresh off the practice field at 12:35. That's coming up next. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Little Rihanna on a Friday? What got into you back there?
Little Riri.
Yeah, little. You a big Riri guy, are you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
How can you not be?
Who among us a queen? So we were talking about the Titans and the Jags earlier, but this Bruce Pearl news just popped up on my timeline. Now, I know Vols fans, I know you all hate Pat Forty. I understand. There's reasons to hate Pat Forty. I think that Pat, more often than not does a good job and as far as his work is concerned. You may disagree. But regardless, there's been a ruling in Auburn, in the case of Auburn basketball, with the FBI investigation into the sport of college basketball. HBO did a pretty intense documentary on it, and nobody cared because it's college basketball, which drives me insane.
It was so damning.
It was.
For someone like Will Wade.
All of it was terrible. And Will Wade is still coaching at LSU. Like, it just completely bounced off him. Nothing. Water and oil. Just completely unfazed at this point because nobody cares about college basketball. And people don't have the attention spans for this thing, which hurts me deeply because it's my favorite sport. But in the case of Auburn, there's been a 2-game suspension for Bruce Pearl, a 1-year show cause for an unnamed assistant, a 10-year show cause for Chuck Person, some recruiting and scholarship reductions, no additional postseason ban. And if I'm correct, Lucas, you told me that they had already self-imposed postseason ban, so that may be why there is no postseason ban officially from the NCAA.
In a season where they were not going to make the tournament.
Right. No, they did the easy thing, which is this is so slap on the wrist type of stuff. And I think, I don't know how Vols fans, if there are still any kind of feelings with Vols fans about Bruce Pearl. Because Bruce Pearl is one of the more, he's not the most successful basketball coach that Tennessee has had, but he's one of the more successful basketball coaches that have been a part of that Vols program. I think that many people still consider him a bit of an icon as far as the orange blazer is concerned on game days, things of this nature. Like, there's a lot of reasons to like and remember fondly Bruce Pearl. But when you kind of dig through the way that situation ended at Tennessee, where he got fired because of essentially, he went to a barbecue. He invited some kids to a barbecue.
Aaron Kraft, who went on to star at Ohio State.
For 75 years. I knew I didn't like Aaron Kraft. Not just because he was at Ohio State for what felt like an eternity. But the way that the NCAA brings down these rulings and the way that these kind of punishments are doled out, it just seems so subjective to me. Like, this doesn't mean anything as far as long-term viability of Auburn's program. I don't think anything more. Chuck Person, obviously a 10-year show cause, is serious stuff. I mean, who's the Tennessee basketball coach that got that ridiculous show cause?
Donnie Tyndall.
Donnie Tyndall, which felt so wrong.
For violations from Southern Miss.
Right. So wrong what happened to Donnie Tyndall. And I think he was still, like, as recently as like 3 years ago, making media rounds trying to proclaim his innocence and how wrongly the NCAA did him. But in those moments, man, I just, every time one of these things come down, I can't help but not take it seriously because I feel like the people who make the rules on this don't take it seriously.
He's a JUCO coach right now.
Donnie Tyndall?
Yep.
Good for him.
Chipola College.
Chipola?
In Marianna, Florida.
Well, at least you're in where's Marianna, Florida?
I had no clue.
Just somewhere in the middle of a bayou. I feel like all of Florida is Daytona, and then there's Miami, which is like an entirely different world. Speaking of coaches, Lucas brought it to my attention. Is Susie Colbert out here breaking news?
Yes, she is.
So Susie Colbert is reporting that Coach Jason Garrett, because remember, he likes to be called Coach whenever you address him. Coach Jason Garrett is the favorite to become the next head coach of Duke football to replace David Cutcliffe.
Yeah, Susie Colbert hearing Jason Garrett is front runner for the Duke head coaching job, having witnessed Jason behind the scenes speaking to and teaching young men. Incredibly powerful and truly inspirational. A great fit. Hope this happens.
Susie, come on. Now, listen, I don't know how it is that Susie and Susie may truly feel that way. That reeks of, hey, my client needs as a coaching agent, and my guy needs a little bit of love. You help. Susie, you're real likable. Nobody dislikes Susie Colbert. Susie Colbert is one of the least polarizing people in sports media. I was unaware until this very moment that Susie Colbert was on social media.
Oh, the last time she tweeted was October 18th. Great to be in Nashville.
Oh, well, thank you, Suze. Lovely to have you. But that's what I'm saying. Like, Susie Colbert isn't making waves. So somebody said, "Hey, Susie, we're gonna give you this. We need a little love on it. Nobody dislikes you. Maybe if you say this, it'll mean more coming out of your mouth or your Twitter feed in this particular situation." Jason Garrett, man. Why do we keep doing this? Why does Jason Garrett deserve another coaching job? Why? For what reason? What evidence is there other than he was Jerry Jones' meat puppet for a couple of years in Dallas? Basically, what is the thing that Dawn does? The puppet that talks? Ventriloquism?
Yeah.
I love that Dawn Davenport is a ventriloquist by night. I always forget about that. Such a weird
Garrett's
thing.
never coached at the college level, period.
Oh, sure. He just wants a paycheck. He doesn't have to do anything. This is like Herm Edwards at Arizona State. Like, there's just so – wait, no. Herm's at Arizona.
Arizona State.
Okay.
Arizona State,
Okay.
yeah. Which worked out better in the short term than I think a lot of people thought.
No, you can recruit off Herm Edwards' name, and if you hire competent – I mean, LSU had the best college football team I've ever seen in my life with a swamp monster as their head coach because they had good coordinators. Like, you can do this in college football. It's how Urban Meyer wins a championship with his third-string quarterback because it's not hard to be that much smarter than people when you can recruit well at that level. And then you come to the pros and you get exposed. Shout out Jason Garrett. So if Jason Garrett wants to coast, make a nice paycheck. Duke's not a bad spot to be. North Carolina, you could do worse. Sure, good for Jason Garrett. But the idea that this is somebody who did what? Read me the line from Susie again. It's from Susie Colbert, who tweeted the news that Jason Garrett is in the running, probably going to be the favorite at this point to be the next Duke head coach.
Called him the front runner, said, having witnessed Jason behind the scenes speaking to / teaching young men, incredibly powerful and truly inspirational. A great fit. Hope this happens. #Duke.
Find me the moment where Jason Garrett in his entire lifetime has been, quote, truly inspirational. Nothing about that wet blanket of a human being inspires anything in anybody. When we come back, we're going to get into a conversation about the Titans at this point and something that I think they can find success with on Sunday against the Jags. Something that I think you started to see glimpses of when last they took a football field in that loss to the New England Patriots. Didn't work out as far as the final margin of victory was concerned, but something to build upon that I need to see them do against Jacksonville. Rodger Saffold is going to join us at 12:35 as well, so be listening for that. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. It's the final hour on this Friday. Welcome in. Hope everybody is doing well. Hope you're ready to get just a little bit closer to the weekend over the next hour or so. We're happy to have you involved. Thanks for sticking around. 615-737-1045 is our number if you want to jump in on the conversation. 615-737-1045. The question that I want to ask the audience, the question that I want to ask you, where do you think the biggest advantage for the Titans against the Jags lies on Sunday? 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Rodger Saffold is going to join us. He's an advantage to have on your side of things. Titans left guard is going to join us at 12:35, so make sure you're listening for that. But I'm curious to know how people are kind of looking at this game, because when we talked about the Jets back in week 4 or leading up to week 5 when they ended up playing the Jets, the thing that kept being brought to my attention by a handful of people, by listeners, by people who responded on social media, by people in the Zone TV chat, is that this is a trap game. Classic trap game. Trap game, trap game, trap game. Well, what is a trap game, right? It gets tossed around so much that I think it's something that people start to believe in or give more validity to than it actually deserves. A trap game, and I straight up looked up the definition. When a stronger opponent overlooks a weaker opponent, and the weaker opponent overcomes adversity, potentially winning the game. This especially happens when the stronger team is on their home turf with their fans behind their backs. All right, it's a little dramatic there. What is this definition? InGameTrap.com. I don't know what that is. Maybe don't Google it on a work computer. But that's the definition of a trap game. A stronger opponent overlooks a weaker opponent, and the weaker opponent pulls out the win. So, by definition, that would make the Jets a weaker opponent than the Titans at the time. And I think I would look back at that game and say, yes, the Titans had Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, but they were without a great many of their players, and I don't know how much better the Titans were than the Jets at that particular moment in time. If everything is right, the roster should be better. The team should be better. But at that juncture, the team was not better, and the team lost to the Jets. Then you come back to the Houston Texans, and you say, all right, if ever there was the definition, the Merriam-Webster definition of trap game, it's that Houston Texans loss, that hideous loss to a 1-8 at the time Houston Texans team. And I would say to you, yeah, there's some validity to that. They had every opportunity to win that game. They also had every opportunity to win the Jets game and the Patriots game. They lost all three. And, the Cardinals game being the anomaly in the middle of that, because that one they just got blowed out. That one wasn't even close. You got beat by explosive plays. You got beat by their defense. And that one spiraled out of hand fairly quickly. But trap games, as far as I'm concerned, they don't exist. So don't believe in them. Don't look at the Houston Texans or the New York Jets as substantially inferior opponents. That's stupid. Why would you do that? Your football team isn't doing that. Don't look at the Jags as somebody that you should just be able to walk over, at home even. Well, Titans beat them by a substantial margin on the road. They never trailed during that game. Yeah, but go back and watch that game. That game, they made you sweat it out a couple of different times, where after Kevin Byard recovered that fumble and scored, they basically traded touchdowns with the Jags for a while. Trevor Lawrence, the same quarterback who we talked about earlier, has had one touchdown pass since October 31st. That guy was moving the ball with relative ease against you. That same guy is going to come into your house on Sunday and try and do it again. They don't have anything to do at this juncture in the season but ruin your day. And nothing would make Urban Meyer happier than to ruin Mike Vrabel's day. Trap games don't exist because that's not the way, or at least they don't exist in the NFL. This is my biggest quarrel with the way that we do the analysis on, just in general, like if you're sitting in a sports bar with your buddies, right? And you're watching that terrible Vikings-Steelers game last night, or at least for 3 quarters it was terrible before the Steelers rallied and almost came back to win. So you're sitting around with your buddies or whomever you talk to, carry on sports conversations about. And you say, well, yeah, this is a trap game coming up. The Titans can't afford to sleep on anybody. Well, no. What are the legitimate reasons why the Titans can't afford to sleep on anybody? They're without a great many of their playmakers. Their defense has not turned the ball over in 2 weeks and is coming off a situation where they've turned it over on offense 9 times to 0 takeaways on the other side of the ball. So look at that, but that's a more detailed conversation than I feel like most people are willing to have. And then they justify the results based on the analysis that they've done on the front end, which is generally incorrect. Trap games to me aren't a thing, and this Jags game isn't a trap game. This is a legitimate opponent that's playing good defense in the last month of the season, and a team locally that hadn't done that great on offense even the last 2 Derrick Henry games that he played, understanding that in the Colts in the Colts win, rather, that Derrick Henry was playing that game for 3.5 quarters with a broken foot. There are reasons to look at this and say, all right, where do the advantages lie? Where can the Titans take advantage of a defense that's playing better football? And I would cite this particular metric because I know our buddy Zach Lyons was ripping the nerds, his words, at Pro Football Focus earlier, but what they do have at Pro Football Focus are a lot of great tools as far as, for example, where teams have the most success by direction when running the football. They have it broken down from everything from end arounds left to running off the left end to running middle left, running middle right, all quarterback scrambles, all of these different variances of the rushing attack that allow teams to have success. The place where the Titans have scored the most rushing touchdowns is middle right. You're taking Derrick Henry. You're taking Derrick Henry right between Ben Jones and Nate Davis, and you're jamming him down the opposing defense's throat. Well, that hasn't happened in quite some time. The red zone efficiency of the Titans, it's not been what it was when you have the threat of a skyscraper at running back who can just fall forward into the end zone, and you're banged. You're done at that point. 6. That's how Derrick Henry racks up 3 touchdown performances. Also because he's special and he can break away 60, 70, 80, 90-yard touchdowns almost at sheer will. But also when they get within the 5, they are near impossible to stop, or they have been. Now, where they can improve upon that is where they had success against the Patriots on the last time the Titans played a game. And I'll tell you what that is coming up next. Rodger Saffold, left guard, is going to join us at 12:35. Stick around. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone. 5 games left. That's all that remains in the NFL season. Welcome back. Buck Reising here with you till 1 o'clock. Rodger Saffold going to join us at 12:35. Is this Chris Stapleton?
Yes, sir.
You're going to a concert on
I will be there tomorrow.
It's very exciting for you.
Supposed to be in September, but he got laryngitis.
You're going to be useless on Sunday morning, aren't you?
No, I'm always useful.
Lucas is going to produce my hour of the league. Are you producing all of the League Company Countdown? How much are you doing on Sunday?
I'll be here at 9 a.m. And then, of course, Blaine, Mickey, and Kevin Dyson at 10. Titans Countdown at 11. And then I'm done after the game.
All right. So we'll be the judge of Lucas's usefulness on Sunday morning after the Chris Stapleton concert. What is useful to Titans fans is what Lucas has cooked up back there as far as a watch guide, basically, for this weekend's football games outside of the Titans hosting the Jags at Nissan Stadium. So we'll give you the what games you need to have your eyes on this weekend here in just a second. But I want to kind of put a bow on this point about the Titans and their rushing attack right now. And I think that's worth doing before Saffold joins us because he's a big part of this. The Titans have their greatest success offensively when it's not on play action and when it's not in terms of red zone. From 20 to 20, their best play is run left. Now it can be running off the left end. It can be running off the left guard. It can be running off the left tackle. Or it could be an end around to the left side. But the left side of that line and the way that they skew their blocking scheme to make sure that they execute that way, left is the way to go. You're looking at those 2 explosive plays that Dontrell Hilliard and Deontay Foreman had against the Patriots, where they're breaking it for a long one. The fumble at the end for Foreman is the thing that kills you. The Hilliard long run went for a touchdown, of course, but the left side is where those things are originating from. And it comes back to something, because I see people fighting in the Zone TV chat on YouTube about like somebody like RG Titan on YouTube. Our fan base always has excuses cooked up, especially when it comes to Tannehill. And that is something that I know I've caught a lot of flack about, talking about the left side of that offensive line, Taylor Lewan and Rodger Saffold. Excuses. You're making excuses. You have Will Compton on, so it means you're clearly biased. No, I just watch the games every week, and I understand what I'm watching. When things are right, Ryan Tannehill's an above-average quarterback. When Taylor Lewan's on the field, he's an above-average left tackle. And when those two things are working together, particularly with Rodger Saffold in the mix on the left side, run left is your best play in some form or fashion. There's a lot of conversation about, well, Ryan Tannehill needs to elevate everything around him. And I think that's probably fair. There needs to be more from this quarterback to make you feel good about him and the prospect of the Titans advancing on the strength of Ryan Tannehill's arm and ability as a quarterback. You have to see more to make you feel better about what it is that he is and what it is that he's capable of doing. I think it's a reasonable expectation. Ryan Tannehill hasn't been good enough. Ryan Tannehill is also dealing with a lot. And it can still be that the analysis is Ryan Tannehill hasn't been good enough. There's a lot of different ways to break this down. And it's a conversation that I come back to with the AFC. Who's the most trustworthy of those quarterbacks? Is it Josh Allen? There's a lot of variance there. The most physically talented, yes, Lamar Jackson's not playing good football right now, but I don't know how much of that is because the scheme around him appears to be a bit defunct. Ryan Tannehill is dealing with a lot as well, but Ryan Tannehill needs to be better. And it starts with the protection. It starts with the running game. It starts with their ability to not play third down as often as they're playing third down. Be better on first and second. And I understand that you are committed to setting up the run on first down. And so every time they get down, they get out there for a series, the first play of the series, the first down, it's going to be a run. Every time, it's going to be a run. And you have to respect their commitment to their offensive identity, but also say, all right, if it's not working, if you're making life harder on that quarterback than need be, well, how can you switch things up? Now, I don't have the answer to that question. And maybe that makes a lot of this irrelevant, because without the answer to the question, what do you care about me bitching about it for? Well, I'm doing that because that's the way that you're all looking at this. Be better. How do you want him to be better? I don't know. Be better. It's not the best way to assess how this quarterback is playing right now. MB on YouTube says, it's the quarterback with the best weapons around him. That's the one that I trust the most. Patrick Mahomes? I don't know, man. There's a lot about what Mahomes is doing right now that doesn't make me feel terribly confident about him. They look much better, but it's because of the defense. They have righted the ship in Kansas City because of the defense. Because Chris Jones is playing out of his mind, because Frank Clark, for all of the issues that Frank Clark has on a play-in and play-out and penalty basis, Frank Clark is still one of the best edge rushers in football. The Honey Badger, Dan Sorensen, ending that game on a pick six. This makes you sick to your stomach, especially if you bet the Broncos. But there's a lot of this, for me, that it comes down to the quarterback, and I think a lot of these AFC guys, Tannehill included, I think the playing field is awfully level because Mac Jones isn't a factor. Josh Allen is having to do all of it on his own. They have zero running game to speak of. Tannehill, we know the issues. Lamar Jackson, be better and also coach better. All of these contenders in the AFC at this point, there's reason to be skeptical about the quarterback situation. And right now, I don't know if that makes you feel better, but it certainly shouldn't make you feel worse about where Ryan Tannehill is among his peers on this side of things, in the AFC, in this conference, as you kind of set things up for the playoff picture. Speaking of playoff picture, what games, Lucas Panzica, do the Titans fans need to be watching this weekend?
3 8-4 teams in the AFC, including the Titans, behind the 9-4 New England Patriots.
Such a mess.
3 7-5 teams in the AFC. It's very muddied. We're going to be playing this game every week. This week, there's 4 games to keep your eye on. 6-6 Browns, needing them to beat the 8-4 Ravens at home. You need the 6-6 Raiders to beat the 8-4 Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. Raiders won that game last time they were in Kansas City in 2020. 6-6 49ers to beat the 7-5 Bengals on the road. And you need the 9-3 Bucks to beat the 7-5 Bills at home.
Colts on a bye week?
Colts on a bye week, as well as the Patriots.
It's a really late bye.
It's the latest in NFL history, if I'm not mistaken.
Week 14?
14.
That makes a lot of sense. Indy's kind of – God, Indy is just so pesky. It's just so annoying. If
what, 7-3 in their last 10?
Well, because they're like the Patriots, they're not asking Carson Wentz to do a whole lot. They're just running the ball down people's throats, and their offensive line is much healthier than it was at the start of the season when they started off 0-3. Indy's going to hang around just long enough to cause the Titans problems at this juncture. Which of those games that you just listed, which is the most interesting to you for the purposes of Titans playoff implications and, frankly, for just a football standpoint? Run them down again if you wouldn't mind.
6-6 Browns hosting the 8-4 Ravens. You need the Browns to win. 6-6 Raiders at the 8-4 Chiefs. AFC West battle there. That's an interesting division. Obviously, you need the Raiders to win that game. And the 6-6 49ers at the 7-5 Bengals. The best game on here has to be 9-3 Bucks hosting the 7-5 Bills, right?
That's the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's Monday Night Football.
That's the game.
I'm sorry, that's not Monday Night Football. That's an afternoon game. Rams-Cardinals is Monday Night Football.
That's the game of the weekend, but it's NFC, so the implications matter less for our purposes. Is Joe Burrow's pinky okay?
I don't know. I think he's going to have to battle through it. I saw Alex Smith talking about it on the Monday Night Football broadcast. If there's any finger on your throwing hand that you can go through that with and still survive the season, it would be the pinky finger. But it certainly looks...
He looked miserable trying to throw that football on the sideline.
Doesn't look comfortable.
It's got Browns-Ravens. I think of the AFC games, Browns-Ravens is the one because I think that Baker nobody's cost themselves more money this year than Baker Mayfield, man.
They're coming off a bye week.
Nobody has cost themselves more money than Baker Mayfield. And I respect his toughness. I have said probably more unflattering things about Baker Mayfield than I should have because I'm not great. I just find him to be a bit corny. And, the amount of commercials that he does for a quarterback that's not all that great, I don't get it. But whatever. That's not fair. Because this man is clearly trying to gut it out for the sake of his team, and all it's done is spiral. And their defense is just so erratic. And it's It's the first time in my life I felt bad for Jadeveon Clowney watching him in that last Browns-Ravens game. Try and chase down Lamar Jackson and just slamming his helmet on the ground.
That wasn't long ago.
No, because this is a stupid NFL wrinkle. The Browns, on either side of their bye, they're going to play the Ravens. So it goes Ravens-Browns in Baltimore, bye week for the Browns, Ravens-Browns. I hate when they do that divisionally. That's skewing the results in a way that they absolutely should not have. Now, maybe you put the bye in there, you feel a little better about it, but I don't like the idea of back-to-back playing a team that way, especially when that division is as closely contested as it is. Of course, the Steelers losing last night on Thursday Night Football. Getting paid like, so I'm reading comments on the Zone TV chat. Getting paid like that, you're supposed to boost anyone around you. He can't and will never do that. That's JV.
On Baker?
No, on Tannehill. $40 million gone to waste. Getting paid like that, you're supposed to boost anyone and everyone around you. Well, by that logic, I mean, there's plenty of NBA players who are making an outrageous amount of money that are nothing but role players. Like, there's the money right now. Again, why are you so caught up in the money? It's not your money. This is why I hate the way that I don't hate it because it's good content. We talk about it, and certainly when you're trying to figure out what your team can afford in free agency, like to have the financials public, I do think helps the conversation. But I hate this for this reason, because and I'm talking about JV specifically, your obsession with the money that's not your money completely skews your analysis of what you're watching. It doesn't matter how much or how little they're getting paid except if you're them. And you're Harold Landry in a contract year and you're making $1.5 million when you're the third best pass rusher in football this year. To Harold, that matters. To Amy Adams Strunk, who's going to have to find a way to pay him at the end of the season, that matters. JV, what do you care how much Ryan Tannehill is getting paid? Has it not been worth it to you for the $0 that you yourself have spent to pay Ryan Tannehill's contract? Because that money, the bulk of it, it's coming from television dollars. And you know what you're not involved in, JV? Television contract renegotiations. Why do we do this to ourselves? I'm going to take a breather. We're going to come back. We're going to talk to Rodger Saffold. Rodger Saffold, he's very even-keeled. I think he's going to find a way to bring me back down to level. So the Titans left guard will join us coming up next. Welcome back. Buck Reising here with you till 1 o'clock. Looking forward to having Rodger Saffold join us here in just a little bit. Some updates from Titans practice. They're flying in fast and furious. Let's take a look here. Ahead of Sunday's game versus the Jags, no sign of David Long. Teair Tart, Jackrabbit Jenkins, Tommy Hudson, Elijah Molden, and Danico Autry, both those two players, did return to practice on Friday. That's courtesy of our buddy Teron Davenport at ESPN. So, no David Long, 3 straight days. I would assume that he is not going to play on Sunday. Now, remember that Zach Cunningham is on your roster, but he is not going to be available in all likelihood at this point. He has to clear protocols. It's going to be difficult for them to even get him into the building in due time. I don't think he's being made available to the media before next week. That's a pretty good indication of what his availability will be. But so Teair Tart's missed a good bit of time as well. Jackrabbit's been in and out of the lineup, and then Tommy Hudson is the 4th tight end. I liked what I saw from Tommy when in the game that he got injured in the Jets game. But at this point, there's a lot that is left to be desired. Danico Autry, though, being back is huge. That is going to be a massive part of this at this point, and how they're able to affect and pressure the quarterback. There has been no better duo of interior defensive linemen this season by pressures than Danico Autry and Jeffrey Simmons. Now, we know that Harold's working through some stuff of his own. We know that Danico Autry, and I'll pull up the injury report just to confirm exactly what it was. 615-737-1045, by the way, is the number if you want to jump in on the conversation. Danico Autry being available in any way, shape, or form is going to be a big reason if the Titans are to have success. That's going to be a big part of the equation. It has been all season long. I know there's been a great deal of obsession with Julio Jones and with Bud Dupree and all of the other free agency acquisitions. Well, I guess there's not a great many other free agency acquisitions, but there's been no more impactful acquisition than that of Danico Autry to this football team. The way that he's able to affect passes at the line of scrimmage, the way that he's able to set picks to allow the looper on a stunt to come in and make plays against the quarterback. There is so much that he does that is just gutting out, grinding out football guy plays. And for him to be available in any form, even if he's limited in the game, that will be a big boost to a team that needs to get back to disrupting the quarterback the way that they know how. Julio Jones being available 3 days in a row at practice. Again, he's not on the injury report because he's not technically on the active roster, but Julio Jones has participated in some way, shape, or form in practice in the last 3 days. Of course, that's obviously great news as far as his availability is concerned. If they are to activate anybody on Saturday, and remember that they like to activate guys on Saturday so that they can be practice squad call-ups and revert back to the practice squad, I would anticipate Golden Tate over Julio Jones at this juncture, just because Golden's healthy, just because Golden has had more time, and because Golden will not take up an active roster spot if you do the practice squad elevation and then have him revert after the fact. So you'll get what you've been looking for quite some time, which is Golden Tate on the field in a Titans uniform. I don't know. He's not a slot receiver, though. Like his position, mainly in the NFL, was as one of the two outside receivers. Now, he can play multiple positions, but at 34 years old, I need him to do whatever it is at this point that he does best. I don't know if he's best served as a possession receiver. There's not tape on him outside of the 2020 season for the Giants, and even that is kind of skewed by what is Daniel Jones as a quarterback. I don't think any of us have the answer to that question. But pretty good news coming out of Titans practice today. Elijah Molden being back in the mix, I think, is critical at this juncture. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. 615-737-1045. So what I'm looking for on Sunday is how they manage situational football against Trevor Lawrence. How, and of course it's skewed by who's going to start with the football, who wins the toss, who elects to take the ball or to defer, on and on and on it goes. But I want to see how they handle situational football, because the Jags are a team that if you can jump on top of them, as the score is concerned, you can basically play that game any way that you want to, and the Jags are not equipped to be able to pull themselves out of almost even the smallest score deficits. Their play calling is something that's been brought up a lot, because Todd Downing is in his first year here in Tennessee as the offensive play caller. And of course, Art Smith having the Falcons at 5-7, I think is a true tribute to coaching, because that roster is just bereft of any kind of legitimate talent. Kind of peeling through the layers of this thing at this point, I'm looking at it and saying there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on Todd Downing, and it's going to be amplified because of the players that they have available. When the coaches are able to find ways to put game plans in place to elevate the players, that's when you have the opportunity for players to shine. Now, the players are the one who make the plays. Of course, the execution is at the forefront, but the players have to be able to trust the game plan that's put into place for them to be able to do that well. And I thought that's what they did well against New England. I thought that was one of the most beneficial parts of that was the way that they clearly and obviously planned to keep New England's defense on their toes by the variety of runs that they had incorporated into that offense, by allowing the quarterback to do minimal. Now, you did need him to execute more. You did need him to not turn the ball over. You did need him to put you in better positions on the whole. But I think that it kind of reminded me of their game plan in 2019 against the Baltimore Ravens, right? Where Tannehill only ends up having 76 yards passing, but he's got 2 touchdowns because on the plays that he needed to throw the ball, he put it on the money. And the guys that he was throwing the ball to in those moments, Khalif Raymond on the first one and Jonnu Smith on the second, came up with the plays that they needed to make. Nick Westbrook-Akina and Chester Rogers. I don't know about Des Fitzpatrick. I really don't. That's one of the biggest unknowns of their entire season at this point. But those 2 guys that I've mentioned, they are capable of making plays. It's just got to be mistake-free, clean football. Turnovers will end you. And I think that has been, and of course that's emphasized each and every week, but at this point, there's a lot that you need to see from a team that's been making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes. It kind of reminds me of what happened between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings last night. I don't know how many people saw the ending of that game with Chase Claypool kind of botching things the way that he did, because at the time, the Steelers are driving. Chase Claypool costs the Steelers critical seconds with a late post-play celebration on a first down. Now, the celebrations are something that the NFL, the competition committee, has been trying to weed out this season for reasons that are inexplicable to me, except when it costs you critical seconds in a game that you've just overcome a 29-point deficit. So Claypool, he makes a key 4th down catch. Steelers are trying to score a touchdown with a 2-point conversion that would have forced overtime. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking at a rapid rate. A teammate has to come up and take the ball away from Chase Claypool, who just doesn't seem to know what is happening in the situation. And the offensive lineman who rips it away from him, the ball falls away. Pat Freiermuth, the tight end, picks it up, gives it to an official so it can be reset, and all of that just starts to fall apart around them. And listen to what Chase Claypool had to say yesterday, because the way that he described the situation, this is exactly what you don't want to hear from a player in that moment, and a thing that you have not heard from a Titans player all year long?
I certainly missed the game, and I think, the season's so long.
What happened there? What am I listening to?
Week after week, we
We
get
threw
stuck
it right
in,
as we started rolling on Titans. We've been
Oh,
rolling
is
on
Mike
Titans
Vrabel
presser.
talking?
No, it's players right now, but we're rolling on the presser. So
So we don't have the Chase Claypool?
I do have it if you want to
Let's
pull
do
that
Chase
up.
Claypool. Although, who was I listening to there? Who was talking just now? It doesn't matter. We'll hear from Chase Claypool whenever Lucas gets that queued up. And this was Chase Claypool after last night's loss.
Chase, why celebrate the first down there late? Obviously.
Oh, what is it, buffering? Is the computer buffering? Oh, all that hassle to set up the audio clip. Lucas is disgusted with that. That's okay, buddy. We tried. You made a good effort. But the point is that mental mistakes, while you make those turnovers,
definitely got to be better. I got tackled near the hash, did my little first down point, and went to hand the ball to the ref. He had just got there.
Right.
So even if I got right up and looked for him, he just wasn't there. So he ran down the field to come get the ball, and the ball got knocked out of my hands. That's what cost us time. But I definitely do have to be better. I knew the situation. I know I'm near the hash. I know the ball's placed on the hash. But I got to be better, and the ball shouldn't get knocked out of my hands. Should be fucking.
it's a really bad situation that Chase Claypool put his teammates in last night, and not a situation that you can afford to have under normal circumstances. I know that that a lot of people are interested in what this game is going to look like, and I'm not sure what to really expect from this Titans team at this point. I'm curious to see who's going to be available, how much different it looks on Sunday with all of the different players who have been in and out of the lineup due to injury. But I know that one thing is consistent. I know that number 76 in two-tone blue is going to play high-level football. Rodger Saffold joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. What's going on, big fella?
Hey, what's going on, man? Just finished up practice, man. Feeling pretty good.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear it. So I understand that that you guys have had some time away. What's it been like over at the practice facility? How's everybody kind of approached this week of work?
Everybody came in, feeling pretty good. Everybody came in really fresh, and they put in a great week of work this week. Definitely excited about, how these boys have been preparing ever since Monday.
Yeah, I know everybody's excited to see what it looks like on Sunday. It's only a week off, but it feels like forever since we've watched you guys play a game. With where you guys are as a rushing offense right now, Rodger, the way that you guys were able to find explosive plays against the Pats, it really made you feel better about what you're capable of, even in life without Derek. What kind of led to that success, and how critical was the game plan for that particular game to allow you guys to have that success?
I think it took a couple weeks to kind of figure out, what some of these running backs were good at, what some of their strengths were, so to see them excel in the game. And, we've been kind of using that to our advantage. So, of course, these running backs are a little bit different than Derek. So, it's a little bit of a different kind of run scheme sometimes. Of course, we want to run with our bread and butter as well, but just trying to play off the strength of these guys and give them chances to be successful. And, it hasn't been many changes, but the changes that we are seeing have been able to give a different view for our offense.
And, just how much different does that feel? Like, from my standpoint, just watching that in the press box in Foxborough, like it felt like you guys had life in a way that it had been a couple weeks, as you mentioned, that was not previously there. Just how much of a difference does it make when you know and when you can see proof of concept of that?
It gives you a huge confidence boost. I mean, you really get confidence in your technique. You kind of know how to block, for these guys. I mean, you've seen the juice that these guys have. They've been able to break into the open field and make people miss, have toughness, finish, great effort. Hilliard, he had that awesome tackle on the interception from like 60 yards away. So, it's just, you have guys like that on your team. It's always great to play with, guys like that.
Titans left guard Rodger Saffold is our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. Titans having just wrapped up practice for the day. Jacksonville is the next opponent on Sunday at Nissan Stadium. This defense for the Jags, Rodger, they look a lot more – they look a lot better in the last month of the season. I know that the final score, the box score will tell you that it looks like they're losing by a lot more points than they actually are. But how competitive do they look on film?
Oh, they're absolutely competitive. They don't rely on their record whatsoever. They just continue to try to do the job. And you can see, the great effort from a lot of guys up front, very physical. They got some stout guys inside. Linebackers fly around. And, safeties, really take a good job of just trying to get their opportunities. We've seen some safety pressures. We've seen some pass breakups and seen these guys make plays. So, this is not any type of slouch. This is a conference game, and we're going to need to take advantage and be able to get a win out of this.
The thing that jumps out to me every time I go back and watch tape, Rodger, is how well you and Taylor work together, even though there's been some inconsistency as far as the lineup is concerned. Everybody deals with injuries, and we understand what you and what Taylor and what everybody who's dealing with injuries this season are going through. But when that thing's clicking, man, I don't know that you guys have a better play in the playbook.
Absolutely. And, it's something that we want to build off of. I mean, this is a tough year for Taylor. Taylor is having to come off an injury like he had. He's never had surgery before. This is just a whole new experience for him, having to be able to play through certain type of soreness or just, inconsistencies where it feels like where you feel good one day and you don't feel as good the next day. As the biggest thing that we can do is just take advantage of the opportunities that we have. The more that we play together, the more we feel more comfortable. And you're right, when it clicks, it works tremendously. And, that's something that we're just constantly focusing on. We already know the chemistry is there. It's just how can we continue to fine-tune, because we're not the only people that understand that we play really well together. It's the defenses understand that as well. So we have a different challenge every week.
I want you to know how hard that was for me to say, because that left tackle keeps calling me fat, and I want to fight him, Rodger.
I know.
I want to fight him, Rodger. Every time. Damn him.
Well, you know what? It doesn't even matter, because, even though that he tries to pick on you sometimes, man, he really likes you.
Oh, well, yeah. It still doesn't mean that he's not the worst. Rodger Saffold has been our guest here on 104.5 The Zone. I appreciate catching up with you, buddy. Continued health and success on Sunday, and we'll talk to you after the game.
Thanks a lot, man. All right, you guys have a good one.
You too. Rodger Saffold there with us on 104.5 The Zone. All right, that's the show.
Who wins the Heisman tomorrow?
Bryce Young.
Yep, 78% agree.
See y'all.